Hi, everybody. This is Gabi.Lorino. I just wanted to let you know that today I'm putting together some snippets of conversation between me and my friends about different feminist issues for more random feminist talk. If you are offended by any talk about contraception or possibly abortion, I would recommend that you don't tune in any further to this video. Enjoy.
I had a student, my first year in the system I'm teaching in, his mom had left, and so his dad was very anti-women. And I can remember his telling this joke, and it was talking about a glass half full or something, and a feminist thinks blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, not school appropriate first. This is our eighth graders, so but just the anger and hatred and the what do you mean it's not school appropriate? What's the big deal? It's the truth. And so you get these men who are just raising these kids that, yeah, it is mind altering when you hear things like that.
After the interview, she remembered the joke. The kid draws a glass on the board partially filled with water. He says the optimist says it's half full. The pessimist says it's half empty. The feminist says it's oppressed. And then he added, or she could say, it's not funny.
My automatic reaction was I just wanted to blow up and be like, you wouldn't know a feminist if it bit you on the ass, that kind of thing. But
You're talking to one right now.
yeah, exactly. And your teacher mind takes over and can't fight that. You just have to model the right behavior and slip it in. But that was about the time of, oh, I know it was. It was the same year as Trump's first election. And it's perpetuating this culture for for women. I mean, about women and what should be expected of them. I mean, and I'm kind of glad I don't have children that are going to be raised in that.
We had stories in my friend group of non-viable pregnancy that went kind of late in the term. They didn't understand how unviable it was until late in
Right.
the term, and she had an abortion, and she went on to have two healthy kids. And her dad was very mad at her for that. Yeah.
Yeah, everything is very black and white, and it's not. I mean, that's just
Oh.
it.
Mm-hmm.
And until they're in that situation themselves, they don't understand.
Right. Like, I mean, I wouldn't call myself like radical about it, but I don't think it's any of my business. I have friends that had serious situations happen that never mentioned it to me.
Right.
The only reason we're talking about it now is because like the Supreme Court uprooted a right, and they'll tell me, oh, I had X many miscarriages and I was about to get on a plane and I couldn't, and like serious medical things. You just didn't talk about it before. And now we're kind of forced to being talking about it. And I think that kind of drives an even bigger wedge, especially think about it if you were fertile. If you
Yeah.
were young and fertile and you were listening to these tired, beaten, black and white arguments from a guy about abortion, and you're just sitting there thinking, well, my mom had to have this happen. She had to have a DNC because of this thing that went wrong, and I'm related to her, and that could happen to me. And what if I'm living in such and such a state where it's not allowed? So I can imagine that when you look at men as a potential partner and you're young and you're single, you're going to weed these people out pretty quick because they're not compassionate and they're not even educated about what could go wrong with your body.
Oh,
You
they
know?
don't. Have you read some of the threads about where guys are talking about they didn't know women could do this or that they had this many holes in their body? I'm like, oh my dear God, there's
Mhm.
sex education, bring it back. Yeah, it is mind-boggling to me. I'm like, how do you not know these things?
Well, I mean, I had to go to Catholic school till I was in ninth grade, and I'll tell you, they do not teach you anything. And I think that the hope is that you will get pregnant before you know anything, before you've healed any childhood traumas,
Yeah,
before you
probably.
even understand how biology works. They are wanting you to make more Catholics.
Yeah. Yeah, that is just,
So
I
petty.
never had the if it happens, it
Yeah,
happens either. Like I
yeah.
was like, if it happens, it's going away. Because I actually experienced that. I was 17 and
Oh gosh.
unfortunately, my boyfriend at the time was an alcoholic, 17. My mom had died, so I was very, very dependent on him as a teenager, like stupid teenager girls do.
Hmm.
And he was very like drunk and violent, you know, not violent when he was sober, but drunk and violent.
Mm.
And so very forceful. And he got me pregnant against my will. And yeah, I got rid of that right away.
Yeah, I can see why.
Yeah. But I had not a question in my mind.
Hmm.
I was like, no, I'm
Yeah.
not doing it.
Hmm.
And no regrets.
And I'll just be incredibly honest.
Please.
I got accidentally pregnant when I was 31. So it's
Mhm.
not like this charming story of I was, a teenager or in college or my early 20s. Like I was a grown-ass woman who like understood my reproductive situation and still accidentally got pregnant. And I've always been pro-choice, but I never thought I would have an abortion because why would I? I would totally be in a position to do this on my own, except when it happened, I wasn't.
Hmm.
It was, I was working, well, I was unemployed at the time. I was on unemployment. I had been working freelance before then, but had previously paid into it. So my friend who was a CPA, she's like, go apply, because it never would have occurred to me outside of that. So
Hmm.
I was in a very tough position and also very unwell. Like I never threw up, but the intensity of that nausea, it was like a truck coming. You could feel it enter the room, or I could feel it enter the room and just slam into me. When I
Hmm.
would raise my head in the morning, it would just slam me back. And I was 6 weeks pregnant at this
Hmm.
point.
Hmm.
And I physically can't do this. I financially can't do this. The person I'm with is not the person I should be doing this with. And I made a very tough decision. All the romanticism about being a single mother or being a mother in general, of what being pregnant was, all of that was gone. And it wasn't an immediate thing, but it was just like a shift, like the reality struck of what this would really be. From that point, and I was still young and there was still possibility of meeting the right man, falling in love, deciding. But the more I was living, the more I realized, no, that's really not something I want. It was the first secret I had, because I'm a pretty open book, clearly, but it was the first secret I had. I told my best friend at the time. I found out all the secret judgments she had about me, and this was the cherry on the
Oh no.
sundae. So it changed a lot. It changed a lot of things. Like who could I trust to tell about this?
Right.
And not a lot of people. And it's easy to be much more open about it 20 plus years after the fact. But it was just kind of that reality awakening of this is really what pregnancy is, and this is really what motherhood is. And we say 9 months, it's 40 weeks. That is a shit ton. And even in that short period, what it does to a woman's body, I don't think is at all respected. Oh,
Mhm.
morning sickness, have some saltines, drink some ginger ale, you'll be fine. It's not a hangover, it's a whole other level. And it's not that it just, that morning sickness just happens for 3 months or a few weeks. I worked with a woman, she had morning sickness her entire pregnancy. And
Mhm.
it's not
That's
just in
it.
the morning. So she was just barfing all day.
Right.
And you have to work, right? Because, what are you going to do? Go on disability? You can legally, at least in California. But what does that cover? If I was in a good relationship and financially stable, it might have been a different decision. Do I regret that choice? No, but it was a hard choice. And
Mhm.
it took a long time for it not to hurt. I really want to convey that it's not an easy decision. And for lack of a better term, it haunts you. It haunts me because one, I put myself in that position, just like we were raised. It's
Like
your
the
fault.
victim
Yeah,
mentality, like, oh, what did I do wrong?
you should have been smarter than that.
Yeah.
You let that happen. That's a stupid thing to have happen. It's not like deciding I'm going to have a cheeseburger. It's
Mhm.
not a flip decision. It's not an easy procedure. None of this is easy, but guess what? Neither is being pregnant. It's not an easy situation. Being a parent is not an easy situation. And if men think it's hard, honey, try being a girl and doing that. And so I applaud parents.
Mhm.
I applaud them for doing something that is fantastically hard and draining on all levels, including financial and emotional. But no one should be judged for choosing otherwise. It's not a selfish decision. And even if it is, it's not your business. Because we don't talk about it, the idea is it's just, a mani-pedi. It's just as easy as that.
And honestly, like as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking to myself, maybe it's just that because we kept so many things to ourselves and didn't talk about them, it gave space to the rumor that maybe we don't care. And maybe we are
Right.
just making these flippant decisions about whether or not to have a baby.